So in the next topic, we're going to learn about the administer governance and compliance. So currently we just understood about the Active Directory and now moving on to the next topic. And within this topic, we're going to learn about how we're going to configure subscriptions, how we're going to configure Azure policy, how we're going to configure role-based access control. In other term, people do speak, say, RBAC. RBAC is nothing but a role-based access control. And possibly, if the time permits, we will perform some of the labs as well and see how that operates. Great. So in terms of the subscription and configuration, configuring like Azure Resource Manager, so the way the hierarchy works is simply you have a tenant which we just created. So within the tenant, you can have multiple subscription. Now the tenant belongs to a region, and so the subscription can do as well. So the region is nothing but there are different regions in terms of if it is in the US, then you have East US, West US. Those are the different region. If you're in Europe, you have UK North, UK South. And also in the Europe within you have a North, West Europe, Central Europe, and so on. On top of that, in terms of the subscription, you always want to monitor how much we are using, how much we are spending, and within the subscription, you create multiple resource group. So within the resource group, you can actually establish some of the resources. Now, just for an example, but it again, every organization operates in a different way. So just for an example, if my organization would like to operate on a multiple subscription model, so that can be one subscription for any development or any sorts of UAT or the testing purposes, which is I call it in short is a non-production subscription. And then I have a separate subscription called Production One, where all the production resource resides on it. That helps me to protect that subscription with the production resources, and I don't need to give that grant or permission to the users who doesn't need to access production environment. So that's how I can restrict it. And in terms of the development, sometime you might hear developers complaining about they need admin access and the higher level privileges. In that term, if I have a dedicated subscription or if I have a dedicated resource group, then those level of permission can be granted for their jobs to be performed very well. Every resource is in the Azure that comes with the limits and quotas. You can request more quotas by raising a ticket for to Microsoft, and that's a very fast turnaround and very prompt response as well. So it's probably automated, but that's my guess. So some resources, example, if you want to spin up more than 200, 300 virtual machines, you probably would like to request that limit to be lifted so that you can spin up all your required resources. You can create Azure resource hierarchy. So you can actually see how that look like in a graphical manner. And the tagging is very important. So every resource you create, you make sure you have a tagging structure, and the tagging structure could be environment production or the department IT, something like that. So those tagging really help you derive the which cost needs to go to which department or which project. So that is very important for the cost diversion or inter-department cost charge or anything that really makes it easy. Or you can even identify which resources are consuming a lot of cost and resources belongs to which project. So it can be identified and justified. And very important, when we go in a cloud, managing a cost is an important factor. Make sure you never ignore that, because that's where you can actually keep an eye on it, control the cost, and you always need to improvise by utilizing the right level of the resources, right level of plans, so that you can always control the cost. Okay, so region in simple language is a different location. So that different location is based on the flexibility, scalability, but also the data residency. It's a compliance issue. So example, GDPR doesn't allow the data to be processed outside of the Europe, then you have to have those establishment within the Europe. So that's how you can actually perform those environment creation. So region is it plays a key role in the compliance. So it's better like to keep that in mind while you're designing your architecture. Okay. There are some global services you might need. Probably your operating e-commerce website needs to go in a global services that has to be region independent, or it needs to be available on the CDN network or something like that. That can be adopted. So there are worldwide about 60 plus regions, presenting 140 countries. So that you can actually easily now guess that like one region contains multiple countries you can target. So it's not one region means like example, if you have a UK South and UK North, UK West. So you got three regions, but it doesn't mean that like it always applies to that fundamental where one data center has been created and that is only belongs to one country. It's belongs to region and the region can serve to the multiple countries. Okay. So this is the subscription structure here. So you got the Azure account, and then you got like in a different type of subscription where you can derive the resources. So here you can see like you can group them together into a different nature of the utilization, so you can see that easily. You could probably create those subscription based on the department as well. You could create the subscription based on the project. It depends on your organization's appetite, like or clients organization appetite, how they want to distribute those resources. So you can actually literally tick those boxes and say like, okay, great, I have distributed my resources according to the need to make it easy in terms of the billing and segregation of duties. Okay. Subscription usage, you can identify that like the free services as I mentioned in the previous section. So you first time when you create, you get $200 credit, and that you need to use it within 30 days. Free unlimited access for 12 months on a certain services. You can always go with a pay as you go. Pay as you go normally works bit expensive compared to excuse me compared to your commitment. So you better want to go with a CSP or enterprise agreement, and that's how you can actually commit for further type of duration. So always keep in mind, so if it is committed, for example, 1 year, there are certain type of discounts available, but if you commit it for 3 years, Microsoft tend to give a little bit more discounts. It's based on the agreement how that's is established between your organization and Microsoft. If you are a student, it includes $100 for 12 months. So you must verify your student access. You need to have your student email address and relevant IDs to prove to gain that access. So these are the different type of subscriptions that are available. To obtain subscription, you can go through enterprise agreement, resellers agreement, partner. You can gain like implementation through the partner, or you can create a personal free account. Resource groups. Within the subscription itself, you have multiple resource groups, and you can have more than one. And within the resource group, you have number of resources can be created within that. So this is how it can work. So you can have either the resource group grouped based on the type of services, or you can actually have a based on resource group, which is a development resource group or production resource group or something. That's how you can manage as well. And it can be nested. Okay. The service limit, as I described, the limits are sometime you have those limits are set under when you go with the subscription usage and quota. You can see example, the total regional CPU for East US is 25 out of 100. So maximum is 100. But if you want to cross more than 100, you want to make a request by clicking this button. Okay. This is a more like a hierarchy, resource hierarchy, and that can be done through the management groups. So management group provides a level of scope, how you want a subscription to be put into hierarchy, and it also implements the compliance and cost reporting for the organization. So it makes it a lot easier. So here you can see like in a one management group. This is all probably you can call it as a more like a virtual folder kind of thing, which actually gives that hierarchy. But you can actually assign those responsible to manage these resources within this group and perform that job. So if it is IT related, I can just give IT, and this entire hierarchy permission can be given to that level. Okay. Tags, very important for many purposes. It doesn't drive any more values apart from that, but it's a critical value it drives. So it's a key value pair. So you give a key. So you have given a key here and then value. So key could be like say department, and then you can mention either IT or management or marketing or so on. So that's how you can do. So there's an example. You can set owner or you can set environment, and these are the free text key value pairs. So it's not predefined like it has to have owner as like that, but you can define your own key value pair. Okay. To manage the cost, it depends on the billing entities, enrollment billing. You could be actually actual department and so on, and the subscription level. So this is how the hierarchy it works. Billing is very important. You must report how the billing is behaving on a monthly basis or pretty much on a frequent basis, and it needs to be monitored on the resource level as well. So pretty much if you can keep that in mind while predicting the cost as well. Cost also gets impacted by inbound and outbound data transfer. So it's called ingest or egress. So based on that, sometime like incoming data doesn't cost much, but outgoing does. So be careful on that. Sometime you establish or your organization or the development delivery team establish uh, some of the say integrations goes over the internet could cost you more. But if that integration talks to other resources which is sitting in the same tenant or within the Azure region, you could use a private connectivity or the private network. If that happens, that could be a different cost model there. Okay. It is recommended that you go on to Microsoft Learn and review cost and creating budget module. You have a look at like plan and manage your Azure cost by implementing either just using Azure cost calculator, or you can alternatively use TCO, total cost of ownership, if your organization is new to cloud and they like to migrate. So about the cost, try and look at that. Microsoft Learn module. You also recommended just do control and organize Azure resource module as well, and the resource manager. Okay, policies. So what policy does? Policy, as name suggests, it says like this is you can do, this is you can't do. It's simply in that terminology. So you can create multiple policies in Azure, and that's what we call Azure policy is a service. And within the Azure service or the policy, it could be the policy driven by the compliance or the policy enforcing certain type of behavior. So that's these are the advantages of the policy. Just a use case, like I want to enforce everyone to put the tags. So every time as anyone creates a new resource, they must put the tag. If not, it can be marked as uncompliant or non-compliant resource, or even you can go further and to enforcement, strict enforcement where the resource cannot get created. Okay, you can allow the the restrict on the location base, the policy. Say you can only create the resources within certain region if you are bound by the region or the data residency law, or depending on the type of organization you're working with. If it is a financial organization, healthcare, or different organization, they have even more strict rules. Okay. Here we got policy creation, where you can define and create the policy, define the scope and where it needs to be assigned, and then you assess the compliance. You can look at in the report whether how many resources are non-compliant, how many resources are compliant. So you can perform the next action based on that. Okay. I'll strongly recommend you just go to Microsoft Learn module and learn about the Azure Policy Introduction one, and also the Cloud Governance Strategy module. RBAC, Role-Based Access Control. In the previous demo, you must have noticed that I given a permission as a user administrator. That user administrator is one of those predefined out-of-the-box role. So you can actually compare different RBAC, role-based access control roles, or the Active Directory roles. You can define the custom roles as well, or inherit the existing role and then customize according to your need. How the role assignment works, that you have also seen in the previous demo. And how you're going to apply the RBAC authentication, that's also you have seen by applying user administrator permission to user one, they perform their certain task. And this is how RBAC gets applied now. Comparison between RBAC role and Azure AD. So you can see that only the scope difference there, and also what kind of actions it can be performed. Yeah. And also remember there are plenty of built-in roles. So those built-in role can be used out of the box if you don't need further variations on it. But there are a couple of keywords I would like you to review here. So RBAC manages access to Azure resources, where the AD role manages accesses to Azure AD objects. So that could be an application, that could be something like in terms of the group, or these are all the Active Directory objects it can manage. For the RBAC, scope be specific at the multiple level, and this is only the tenant level. So these are the keywords I'm highlighting, just it could be very useful for you to learn on that perspective. So the role information can be accessed in the Azure portal. So these are the tools. So Azure portal, Azure's command line interface, PowerShell, Azure Resource Manager template, and REST API. So these are the different area you can actually look at the role information and can be assessed. Where Azure AD role information can be assessed in Azure portal, Microsoft 365 admin portal. So there's a separate portal for Microsoft 365. You got Microsoft Graph. You got Azure Active Directory PowerShell for Graph, and that's how you can manage AD object. So these are the key difference here. So collection of permission, that how it lists, it's pretty much defined in the JSON structure. If you've never seen this before, you can actually see this. This is an example, and you can see whether the authorization given at wildcard level delete, wildcard write, elevated access on action. Again, for exam perspective, you don't need to remember by heart, but you should know the structure. You also should know about what those structure can do, because that could really help you in your day-to-day job. Okay. So there is a role assignment. We did created the role assignment through the group, which you had a demonstration. You can assign the roles directly to the user as well. And this is how the assignment works. Also, you can use role definition to be applied to certain groups and like in a resource groups. So that's how you can assign. You can apply the RBAC authentication. So Azure AD admin role can actually influence that. Working with the root level, any global admin access can be like a global admin or user admin access can elevate the access. And also the RBAC roles can be mapped with the owner, contributor, reader, and so on. So through the Azure AD admin roles, you can perform those actions. Okay, so there are some demonstrations. So let's jump onto the demonstration. But before we do, there are some modules which you must visit, which is about the Azure RBAC, like another role-based access control. There's a learning module for subscription management, and learning module with some exercise is on the RBAC. So how you can secure the Azure resources that you can view it. Great. So this is the architecture for the lab 2, and let's try and perform some of the tasks. And the governance and policy tasks are here. This is architecture. We going to skip a little bit and let's jump on to a quick demo. So here we have the last session of the day 1, which is administer Azure resources. So within this administration, we're going to learn about the different tools available, which we touched base on the previous session as well. There are ARM templates, which is Azure Resource Manager template, how you can use that to deploy it further, or you reuse the deployment once you have actually configured as a resource. You can extract the ARM template and then reuse it to even replicate those resources. That's a possible option. So tools. What are the tools available? We've been looking at the Azure portal tool continuously, but there are Azure Shell and also there's a command line interface. So let's have a look at the 3 different tools here. First of all, the portal, which we have seen continuously in today's session. What it does, like it allows you to view, manage resources. There's a visual interface, so it's a more graphical interface rather than just a black and white command line tool. You can personalize your experience. You got mobile app, which you can access as well, and you can access to Cloud Shell from here. And it's a one-off creation scenario that you can create and then leave it. But if you want to do a lot of automations or you want to perform multiple resource creations, it just makes it easy to go into like either Cloud Shell, which is a PowerShell, or you can go into the directly install Cloud PowerShell or this command line interface into your local machine and connect to the Azure. So you got like there are different options available. This is Cloud Shell is pretty much web-based, and I will just quickly give you the demonstration for it. And we have the Bash shell. There are some learnings which I'd like you to see, and we got the ARM template. So before we go into the ARM template, let me just quickly take you through the demo of what is a Cloud Shell look like. So we're going to pop out this details from here. Great. Okay, so here's my demo environment. Okay, so in this one, if you want to operate through the portal, which is here, so you can see the search for the resources. You can also go and look at the more services here, and that's where you got all the services are available. You can also search and filter here. So say if I want to create a storage account, I can just start typing, and you can see like services gets filtered in real time. Or I can always go into Cloud Shell. The button is available here on the top right. So when I click on it, if there is no storage account, it's going to prompt me to create one. So here is a split screen, and I'm going to use PowerShell. So what it will do, which subscription you want to create the storage account. So this is a one-time exercise. Once you have created storage, then you're good to go. Okay, it might take a little bit time while creating the storage, but once it's created, you can always start working on it. So while this storage gets created, let's jump onto the slide and look at the ARM template. So ARM templates are in a schema of JSON. So it's same structure. Also, with ARM template, you can also consider Bicep. Bicep is another type of files, help you with the similar type of deployment exercise. So ARM template, you can see like, you can push it into the development, production, in the QA, or different environments. And what it does, it improves consistency and promote reuse, reduce manual error prone and repetitive tasks. Because whenever you're doing any sorts of development and you want to pick this up and actually put it into production, it's not necessary you will always remember unless you have a dedicated, very comprehensive run book, and that run book tells you exactly what you need to do. But if you, instead of relying on run book, what you can do, ARM template or the biceps file will have all the sets of instruction you need, and you can target the environment to deploy. Okay, so JSON template schema look like this. It's very comprehensive. This is just a very small minor example. This is a kind of another JSON template parameter. And here you go, bicep format. So it might look exactly the same as JSON, but it has some different variation here, which can be used. Okay. You can create templates by utilizing, you can create number of things using a template. So you can spin up some of the application for your trial perspective or for the learning perspective. Go to Quick Start Gallery and then select Azure Resource Manager, and you should be able to actually view number of predefined template added by either Microsoft or someone else. So you can just click on Add button, and it will just spin up all necessary stuff you need to know for the Kickstart purposes. You got number of Microsoft Learn modules, which we recommend to take it offline and as a homework and learn about it. And we got the lab exercise as well. So in the lab, we have like, the disk creation, there's this JSON template. In a task 2, we edit a template and create a new template out of it and then deploy it. Okay. So you can use the same thing on the command line interface as well. It pretty much works in a similar way as PowerShell. So you can choose either one of them, and then you can perform your jobs. So here we go. So this is where we are finishing our day 1. So thank you for being a participant with us, and it's been a great pleasure serving you today. Thank you.